Good morning.
Good evening.
And good afternoon.
And good night.
That's us, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Declan, how are things? How are you getting on?
I'm good. I wasn't just ducking under my table there like 2 seconds ago. No.
No. That's kayfabe, baby.
That's...
I wasn't just literally just there sliding in on a chair.
I decided I'm going to be one of those like talk show hosts that stands for the whole thing. I'm
Nice.
standing today.
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of the energy I'm bringing to tonight's episode.
I'm sitting, but it's because when I stand in this room, I look way taller than I am, and it's unfair on the audience to have these expectations of me.
Well, shut up. I'm just below nipple height, and the desk I'm almost on my tippy toes. And if that's what you've come here for, welcome to Ben and Declan On A Roll. Well, one of us is on a chair, and the other one is on their feet.
Yes, yeah. We're rolling. The cameras are rolling, and we're live. And today we are here to talk about New Beginnings. It's sort of New Beginnings Part 2. So if you tuned into episode 1, you would have seen us talking about new worlds, new campaigns, the sort of DM side of the coin. And today we're talking about new beginnings from the player side of the coin. So as we're going through the show, I'm going to build a new character live with the help of everyone in chat here. So if you've got prompts, if you've got dice, have them handy, because we might be asking for dice rolls to choose race and class and even subclass. Some people start at level 3, so maybe we'll just do a level 3. Helps figure it out. But yeah, we're talking everything new, including new systems, because we'll be building a character in D&D 5e, but the thinking behind what we're doing, the kind of process we put into building new characters, is kind of the same across systems. The thinging, the actual picking your bits, whether you're lasers or feelings, that changes system to system, but you'll see common themes if you're new to playing this game. That's today. We're also having an interview with Omar from A Tale of D20s.
Yes. Yeah.
I was about to say 2 cities, which is
which is the other thing that they did.
Yes.
There's a whole class action lawsuit against the Dickens estate.
Yeah.
But I was very, very lucky to sit down with Omar from A Tale of D20s. I'm also very, very lucky in that I get to run games with Omar. I get to play in Omar's game. Sorry, that's the GM and me not able to let go of the fact that I'm not a GM.
But Omar gets to experience my character in my game.
That
he'll
that
DM
he gets
for.
to. Yes. Yeah. So I got to sit down and talk to Omar about how he comes up with new characters for the GM's perspective, and I also had a chance to talk to him about a new character coming on board. I've been with Atelier 20s for a year, but I came in like Ben mid-story, mid-season, and how all that kind of translates into a table and the pre-established dynamics. So I want to talk a little bit about that when Ben is looking at the kind of we'll say the mechanical side of the character and the stats. I want to talk about backstory and how you can take those things on the character sheet in the player handbook, whatever it might be that you're using, because again, like Ben said, the guts of this are the same. Like, and there might be different systems, different mechanics, certainly, but the guts of who makes it. Why am I saying guts? The essence.
Guts. Because like Build-A-Bear,
yes.
you have to cram your character full of
guts. And then it's cuddly. More guts, more cuddly. I want that on a t-shirt. I'm just going to put that out there. More guts, more cuddly. And I did that interview while we were at AthVenturecon. And while we were there, Ben did a runaround. He also got to chat to Wayne from the Irish Pubcast. And we're gonna talk about that weekend. How it went, how we found it, and stuff.
Yeah, we just followed the directions to the Lochray Hotel and Spa. That's how we found it. How it went, we'll tell you about it later. But funny enough, after sitting down with Wayne at AthVentureCon, I then, if you're a fan of Sorcery Shenanigans, the most recent episode features me. So I had a new character to build. Yeah, Sorry, I've got to tell you.
Are you cheating on me
was,
with Wayne from?
yeah, there was something you asked me to do something recently for season 3 of the Ransom Dungeon, and I was like, oh, I didn't get around to it. And you're like, what? And I wanted to send in like a Scarlet Letter picture, being like, I was somewhere else today. I wasn't dedicating all my time to my favorite boy, Agelia Steele. But I can chat a little bit about that, about the character I've come up with for them. Just touching on it. Sometimes it's like it was a very simple reason to come up with it, so I'll get to that later.
And I think if because there's already people coming in with prompts.
Yes, I'm taking them down as we go.
I like to experiment with astrology. So much there for characters. I especially love using East and West astrology. So what would you make of an Ox Pisces? That's really interesting. I'm okay. I'm also gonna write that down. An Ox Pisces.
Yes.
And
for Azo 58, if you wouldn't mind, I mean, obviously I know the characteristics of an ox. Obviously I know the characteristics of a typical Pisces. But for someone who doesn't know, and someone who's not familiar,
obviously I'm furiously googling it.
Yes. But if you could drop in any kind of traits that might come to mind, it might help. Otherwise, I'll be very basic about it. I was going to make a joke about astrology there in the word basic, but I won't. I'll leave it for the audience to piece those two things together.
That's fun. Like an Ox Pisces, that's a fun combo. But if you are going to, if you're here and you want to get involved, do feed those prompts to us, because we will try and take as many of those things in, and how you might find some sort of balance in that backstory with that character that we are building. And again, if you're sitting there going, oh, I don't know, I'm not really good at the backstory stuff, I don't really know what you're trying to draw on, but I think you should play a bugbear, or I think you should roll up a sorcerer, then that's a prompt, and that's enough to get us started. That's enough to kind of get us thinking about stuff. So that helps. So all the prompts, that would be great. And I think that's... Do we want to see how Omar handles?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Then let's pop over to this.
Let's dance our way down to interview corner.
I can't dance. I'm standing.
We are coming to you live from AthVenturecon. This is not my swanky bedroom. I'm not wearing my token presenter blazer because I've just done a series of events, not the Lemony Snicket kind, more the TTRPG kind, panels and workshops. And I'm here with Omar from A Tale of D20s. One of the few people I am actually comfortable playing in a game with, in terms of like not being the DM. Omar is somebody that I look up to immensely. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Like, I've stolen so many of your ideas, Omar. Like, that's not even a thing I'm going to pretend I haven't done. But it's great to sit down and chat with you about TTRPGs, because we talk about games, we talk about your games and characters and stuff a bit, but I don't think we've had, other than that meeting where me and you met on the ruins of a castle, which sounds like something from Highlander, but this did actually happen when Omar was in Ireland last year.
Yes.
Our poor partners were set kind of like, okay, when are they going to stop talking about TTRPGs? And when can we talk about the setting? Nah. But Omar, you are so welcome to Ben and Declan on a roll. And thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me. It's been amazing through all the things we've done together, from back when we were just a podcast to doing live streaming. Declan, we go way back, and it's been a joy and pleasure having you on all of our multitude of events, and also being a player in one of your games, which was fantastically fun.
Yeah, we have a common thing of like, hey, you want to be in this thing that I'm doing? Or, yeah, okay, I'll find the time. We'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
You and a Tale of D20s, you do, like, I often kind of go, oh God, I do so much, and people give out to me for all this stuff. I'm like, well, I'm not Omar. I don't do half of what Omar is doing. So do you want to tell us, for anyone that's maybe that I've not had the chance to talk to the ear off of about A Tale of D20s, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and who A Tale of D20s are?
Sure, certainly. So I am Omar Burgos, aka the Taleweaver. It's kind of when I go across all of the social medias as. And I am an avid Dungeons and Dragons and as the course of my life in the TTRPG space, I would say all types of TTRPGs player. And I remember about how long has it been? I'm gonna say maybe 10 years ago at this point. I was playing 4E with college friends, and we just had such a blast. And that's really the first time I really got into a Dungeons and Dragons campaign from like 1 to I think we got to level 13 or 16. And I was just the drama, the epic tales that we were telling. I said, we gotta like, can we record this? And that kind of inspired me to not only become a DM and learn the game because I was a player in that one, but then actually record it, get a group together, and make an actual play, which has been a fantastic time. And that's what formed into a Tale of D20. It's just 3 friends, me, Travis Valasin, and Zeki Alakaya. We kind of got together. Zeki already had his own tabletop show called The Natural Ones, and we thought, why don't we just combine together? So he had the experience, and I was head of creative development, so I just came up with the stories and the idea for the show. Travis was basically the business management person there, and Zeki knew all the ins and outs of media and how to get it together, and we just formed a podcast that to this day I am impressed. We got 2 more of our friends to join in there, and what a fantastic time it has been.
You and Zeki and Travis, like, there's so many different things that you're all kind of involved in. Like, it's not like, you said there you moved from podcasts to streaming on Twitch and stuff like that. But I'm not sure what if maybe Travis and Zeki have done it, but you also kind of do this at events as well. Like,
so as we grew in our and I got to meet so many different people from this amazing industry. The TTRPG industry it's huge, fantastic, and the most heartwarming, friendship building community that I've ever been in. Kudos, that's how I met you. And I got contact with a lot of people who ran such a PAX Unplugged, Gen Con, and specifically I worked with Magpie Games to be a game master for several of their games as well, actual like paid to play games. And then now I'm actually on their staff. And it's fantastic going to these different conventions and either representing a Tale of D20s. We've had our own little things, booths that we've put on, as well as jumping into other companies and organizations and really getting to see how the back end of it all works. And it's been a blast and so much fun doing that. When you start off, and I'm a very emotional person, when it comes to wear my heart on my sleeve, I'm a super feeler. So at the beginning, when we were working so hard and putting out all of this content, we were looking at the numbers and being focused on that and distracting from the true purpose. And I wish I could have talked to myself back then and said, that's not what it's about. Have fun in what you're doing, bring joy into what you're doing, and all that will come. Like the whole point, why did you do this? Because you had so much fun building this world and playing this game that you wanted to share that and connect with others. And for the longest time, I stressed over that and didn't realize that that's not the reason why I was doing this. And I wish I had that kind of reassurance or someone to tell me that at the beginning. I did actually. Jumping into the meeting all these people, they were telling me the same advice. And when I actually listened and took that, I found that everything started to fall into place and become something grand. So the first and foremost will say, don't pay attention to the naysayers, to the numbers. Just do what you want to do and everything will fall into place. I guarantee it.
This episode, we're talking about kind of new characters. And I guess from your point of view, because I mean, I was a relatively, I mean, I played with Travis and Zeki in a couple of one-shots and stuff like that, but I hadn't played with Rachel before. I was a new player in this space with a new character in this space. How do you deal with new characters? Particularly, we'll start with kind of maybe player characters. player character has died, the story is progressing, and they're rolling up a new character, or they've come up with a new character and it's not what you were expecting. How do you handle a new character?
Well, first I like to work with the player when they jump in there, but make sure they have a foundation on which they can stand on to build their character. I said, so this is the world, this is what happened in the history, and these are common things that you would know. How do you see a character you want to build in this world? And then I just let them have free reign. And then I would say, and then just ask me questions along the way. And then I work together with the player. I'm not going to say, Railroad and say, you have to be this, that, and the third. I want to hear what they have. And they say, will this work? I'm like, yes. How about we swap this with this god, for instance, because this is the pantheon in this world. And let's go over the setting, because I do like to be extremely detailed. I'm juicy when it comes to backstory. I need inspiration to then use it against you in the future when it comes to telling the story.
You're also sorry. No. We're not glossing over this, because I think Travis and Zeki would have me over the coals if I didn't point this out. You're there like, oh, I give notes on the world. No, you don't give notes. You give theses on the world. Like you sent me so. This is the glossary, and this is the geography, and here are the factions, and these are all the schools, and these are all the things. And I was like, oh my god, somebody gets it. Somebody does the same. Someone does it better than I do. Your world building is immense. And you having gone through that process with you, I never felt like, I have to study for an exam here, and Omar is going to test me on stuff. The Dullahan, the character that I play on the show with you, I feel very much that we talked about his idea, where he might have come from, and it was you ran that conversation so well, and at no point did I think, oh man, Omar really wants me to do this, or I have to do this to make that fit. I really have to give you credit for that, because it can be daunting when a player is handed that much detail and oh, this is a really established thing. This is this thing has its own Wikipedia page, and your work is so great. And it was such a treat to read as well, because you do get a real sense of, not only can I immerse myself in it, but clearly the person who's created this is passionate about it. That comes across so well in your work.
Thank you. I look at it this way. I love getting a new book, whether it be in Dungeons and Dragons, any Power of the Apocalypse games, or Pathfinder. I love getting a new book and reading through the lore, how they have everything laid out, and that inspires me to do the same for my world. I'm basically creating a playbook, or a campaign book for you. So I want to make sure it's easy for you to follow, for you to reference, because when you are engulfed into this world and really feel your characters come to life, that's when the magic truly happens. And I want to make sure you understand it just as much as I do. Even so much for I will augment and change things according to how your character will feel. Or I wish there was a town here that my character would be traveling back and forth because they're a merchant. We will create that town and build an entire history for that town, because maybe someone that you love lived there, and then I can use that against you in the future.
Yes, it's always about that. And it's that thing of I do it all the time in my games with my players. I'm like, nah, Omar won't do that. And I'm like, uh-oh. I gave Omar so much ammunition. I have a missing parent. This is, it's a thing that I like to do as a DM, and I've learned an awful lot from the way I see you incorporating. Because again, I came into Descent into the Void season 2 kind of relatively blind, to the. I mean, I knew you'd given me kind of a summary of, these are the events that have occurred. This is what's happened to the circle, and so on and so forth. But my character isn't going to be privy to any of that information, and I just, how do you, how do you balance that sort of, this is established and this is a group, and now here comes this new element. Here comes this new thing that could throw that balance and equilibrium out that you had with the first group. Is there anything in particular that you do or you found useful managing that new character in an established space?
So to answer that question, I'll have to kind of explain my kind of theory on making a campaign. So there's two types of campaigns that I've made and that I look at. And it's the large, massive campaign where the scale, by that I mean that we're playing for a straight 100 sessions or more, or something like that, like a long multi-year campaign. Or we do the 8-episode campaign where you get more to the meat faster. And Descent into the Void 1, the prequel to this, was a massive, if someone would want to jump in, it would be difficult because a million things happened and we never took a break. Whereas when you came in season 2, I planned Descent into the Void campaign 2 to be an 8 to 10 episode, like almost like a Netflix bingeable, where it's not railroaded, but it's structured where you can get everything and it ends not so much for as the campaign's over, but it's reached the end of that chapter and anything can happen next. So since all the bad things had happened and everything, and we reached and this is where that chapter ends. Now you want to know how the next book. It's like reading a book. I kind of build it like that. You have your first book and it's over and doesn't leave you on, and then they jumped off the bridge and then what? And no, it's more so there is a conclusion and then we start up again by adding a new character and seeing how that shapes this new season. So every season could be different.
What are your tips or tricks or techniques? Tell us your secrets, Omar. What's your approach to writing a new NPC, a new character that the players are going to encounter? Where do you start?
So I start off with a personality. I'm just saying when I like to make NPCs, I make them by, now we're going to go over to the school teachers, or I'm saying the people of this town. And the way I build the town, like if it's a sea town, so they're going to do a lot of fisher people or a lot of people who deal with ocean, and what kind of personalities would a person who works by the sea would be like? Might be a little rougher, have more tales, be more wise from all the people that are coming into shore. So I need to build characters that would be like that. So then I said, what's an angry person like that would be? Oh, someone who has been slighted, maybe because their ship was wrecked or something like that. And then I will build the personality over the environment and then as you said, yes, I love anime. There's always there's a lot of bit of an exuberation with all the anime characters. Like they play to their archetypes to a T, and that's why you love anime, because it's just campy. And I love camp. Who doesn't love camp? So
everybody loves camp.
I know, but still keeping it believable and a good story. But you want it campy. Like I was inspired by the 90s Xena and Warrior Princess and Beastmaster and all these characters who would just be over the top. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like these are like they're not the normal people you see on the street. They have very succinct personalities that you love seeing a twist and turn. So that's how I kind of build. So my tips and tricks would be to really look at the environment of where you're building. The teachers are going to be in a school. What would it feel like where you live in the school for most of your life teaching these kids, and as well as doing other jobs because they supplement their income through other means as well. And then how would that have affected your personality? So I'm really big on looking at nature and nurture. So like what does something that you were taught to teach you versus what something that your experience has, and then I build it from the ground up in that way.
That is kind of all we have time for. But Omar, where can we find you? Where can we find more about Tale of D20s? And if there's anything that you want to push or plug or promote, the floor is yours. Take it.
Certainly. Once again, my name is Omar Burgos, aka the Taleweaver. You can find me on social medias at either the Taleweaver or the_tale_weaver if it's taken. And you can also find everything at www.ataleofd20s.com. There you can see Descent to the Void Campaign 1, our one-shot series Theros Gods in Glory, where we play a Percy Jackson-like Dungeon Dragon 5th edition. series. And that's a series of one-shots, as well as Radiant Citadel and the Natural Ones, run by Travis and Zeki, respectively. And then, of course, Descent into the Void Campaign 2 is on our Twitch stream. That's on Sunday. Actually, we might be coming up with the new days. I believe we're changing it to Mondays by the time this air, but you can check out the date for that at ataleofd20s.com. And then I guess just for your viewers and listeners only, we are also building something new called Tarot, which is a magpie mask game empowered by the Apocalypse based on the tarots, the minor and major arcana. Very magical girl in anime.
Oh my.
Card captor Sakura, all that.
Okay, so you heard that here. That is. Oh my God! That are you running that? Can I ask?
Yes, I am running that one. Yes.
Oh my, that's you and your. Oh, okay. Okay. That is something that everybody has to watch. So we're gonna make sure that, and by now the links and social media handles will be in chat. If I've done my job correctly, if present day Declan has done his job correctly, that is coming up. But you definitely need to check that out. I have had the privilege of being in a masks game with Omar, and that was a My Hero Academia inspired one, and that was the most fun I've had playing a superhero. Honestly, can we please go back to that? Okay, I'll stop. I'm going to stop the call. I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to bully you into maybe running another session of that. But Omar, thank you so much for your time and for letting us know a little bit about your craft and where you draw your amazing characters from. And that's it for me from our AthVentureCon. Day one down and done. Back to Ben and current day Declan in the studio.
And welcome back to the studio. As I smash my knees against my desk. What an incredible interview. Am I right?
Yeah, no.
Holy crap.
It is, like, Omar is such a phenomenal... Omar uses the title Taleweaver as well, and that's the perfect way of kind of describing the way Omar runs their games. It's so well tied together, and it's so well... I mean, I think he used the analogy that he sees it like a series, like a book, and that's something that I try to emulate as well, but total different level to me. So having been in Omar's games, I can just tell you that, like, if you see a Tale of D20s, and I hope everybody has gone and followed them on socials, the details are kind of going up through the chat. Make sure you follow their Twitch channel. While we were talking about the character I play in Descent into the Void, they run so many other different systems, so many different games, and they bring in other guest GMs, and they look for guest players. Just saying that. You really should, because I've personally, as a DM, learned so much from Omar and their style of tale weaving.
Yeah, and Declan's being modest. As one of Declan's players, the beautiful, rich tapestry of world information that you have and provide is something I really enjoy about playing this game in the first place. Like, as a DM, I tend to kind of roll in no prep, and sometimes it's magical. It's like the best improv show in the world, where it just feels like it happens in front of you. But like, the thing about improv is, like, the shittest improv is way worse than like bad sketch, because at least sketch is prepared. But the best feels magical. And I can see it sometimes in players. I played a game of 10 Candles recently, and it's purposely no prep. But I could see them kind of being like, wait, why does this make sense? Or like, how does this connect to this? And I had to kind of at the table be like, I don't know, guys, I'm making it up. So there is a huge value to that level of lore. And if you have a DM who likes to put that work, because it is work, in, ask, dive, get involved, rub it all over your character. When you're making a new character, I know sometimes it's DMs like to get the characters together first and then build a story around them. It's handy because then you can make it something they care about. But the world will be built, and as a player, you should ask, like, what's this world like? What does it value? I asked like literally before the stream, I was like, hey, Declan, random question. And so like you can ask whenever. And I was asking about the world of that Romancing the Dungeon takes place in. And of course he knew. It was a complete curveball. I was like, is there a sign of like respect you give to people, like this world's equivalent of like a bow or something? And he was like, yeah, exactly this. And I'm like, great, good to know. Because it helps you build and flesh out and give your character depth. And speaking about giving character depth, we think this is probably a recurring segment on a roll, where every time we stream, we're going to share 3 things that have inspired us or informed us or helped us with our games recently. So it was my turn this time, and I sent over 3 things. I'm watching the stream, so I'm about 30 seconds behind. So let me know if there's anything on the screen that I can talk to, Declan. And
there will be in 2 seconds.
Well, the first one might dox me. It's a black screen and our screen. It's the void. I lit it. No, there it is.
Prompt.
The first one is a picture I took recently. It might somewhat give away where I live, but I'm not, sneaky about that. But the reason I took it is I love keeping an eye out as a DM for like potential combat locations or potential sort of like settings and situations and crossroads that characters might meet at. But I've been trying to, as much as possible, walk up a hill near my house on a semi-regular basis. In February, it was like every second day. I've only done it twice in March. But it got me thinking about routine and what someone's daily routine does to someone's personality or someone's sort of outlook on life. So I was thinking about my daily routine as I climb up this little mountain and then take a little picture, share it on the socials, and then climb back down the mountain, appreciating none of nature, just trying to get it done. And I think it's a good place to start when you're building a character, or it's an interesting place to flesh it out, which is, what's their day look like? Like when they wake up, what do they do? What's their favorite food? What are all these little things that can give you a sense of who they are and what they care about? Now, you could start somewhere really silly. You could start with a name. I once played a character called Noam Chomsky. They were called Noam Chomsky because they were slightly philosophical and a gnome. Simple as that. That's all I had going in, all I needed going in. But this sense of routine is where you can kind of begin to put some shape on your character. Equally, you might just want to play a certain class or a certain race. You might just be like, always wanted to play a half-elf bard. And you could start there. For me, I like starting with personality. And so knowing that there's so many videos out there on how to like build a character, I wanted to take a little bit of a spin on it and talk about routine. So that just gives me their kind of base state. And in this case, it's someone who, for the purpose of today and building a character, it's like they live in a village. They overlook the village. Maybe they don't necessarily live down in the civilization themselves. They're a little bit of an outlier. They might live up here and they're kind of constantly looking down into civilization, but they prefer the solitude and isolation and comforts of their own little space. I see things like this and I go, obviously I know what happened to that tree, nature, but like in a fantasy sense, it's like, what happened to that tree? How big is this character? Are they clumsy? Did they knock into it and crunch it down one day? Or are they small and sort of inventorous? Inventorous isn't a word yet, but I like it.
It is
adventurous within. Yeah. And therefore needed some kind of engineering thing. So you start thinking about these things. The next thing that's on my mind, and it might, you might start to see themes if you listen to Romancing the Dungeon as season 3 comes in. You'll probably see themes of what I'm building for AJ because he's changing. So like, it's interesting thinking about completely new characters or a new direction for your character. So if you flick on to a lyric of a song I've been listening to, which is Blood Upon the Snow by Bear McCreary and Hosier. And when I started going up this hill, it was like during winter, so it was like climbing up in ice. But there was a lyric in there which just stuck with me as like, that's a character value. Like that's just like an outlook on life that's really nice to like anchor yourself against, which is, it's not my arms that will fail me, but this world takes more strength than it gave me. Which I bloody well love. And this is where becomes important to chat to your DM about the world they're building, because if we're talking about daily routine, the world they live in is going to shape them as well. And this brings to mind for me this idea who's someone who has experience, someone who's lived a long life, someone who's potentially had the strength of a level 20 character at one point, but now that they're retired or they've given up the game or they're just no longer interested in what's out there outside the window, it's like they can rely on their skills, but they can't rely on what the world will throw at them. And that brings to mind a sort of world weariness. Or in the case of AJ, who I play on Romancing, something's changed in his world. So he's like, okay, what I thought was true is no longer true. And I don't know how that's going to shape him yet. And then the final one, my final little prompt, and it's not necessarily directly from this movie. If you haven't seen the movie Bottoms, it's on Prime, as far as I know. It's a sort of teen comedy, but there's a character in it, this sort of main like villain, I suppose, who's just this arrogant piece of shit jock. Like, look, like you can kind of tell from that picture how much of a piece of shit they are. And the reason I brought it up as a piece of inspiration is sometimes we're tempted, because we like to play games where we're heroes, to be good, to be the best versions of ourselves, to only ever put forward like good characteristics, the sort of more paladin-y way of thinking. Be a piece of shit. Like, without antagonizing your party or out being combative on a PvP situation, you don't have to like have good morals. It's what the old alignment chart is about. And you can kind of be chaotic good and still be a piece of shit. It was a game I used to play where the backstory of my character was based solely on an item. It was the item of mind shielding from the game. And a funny thing about that item is when you die, your soul or your essence goes into it. And the DM I was playing with said, hey, I love how you have this item. There's already someone in there. I was like, oh, cool. Right. So I had to make 2 backstories, which is a lot of fun. And I decided to put the sort of essence of an ancient fae in here who was captured, anywhere between 100 and 500 years ago and brought into like a gladiatorial fighting pit and sort of put on parade and ultimately slaughtered. A little bit like a bullfight in Spain. That was what happened. So this fae had a lot of vengeance on their mind. So my character, when I came across it, was just like, okay, well, I can't do anything against the people who did this to you, but I can do something against the people who benefited from it, like their ancestors. So it was the whole kind of sins of the father situation. And the party pulled me back and they were like, is your character evil? It's like, no, in the book, if you look at it, okay, good, just says like has their own moral compass and sticks by it. And moral compass that isn't implied by society. So as far as I'm concerned, he's chaotic good. Because what's the difference between me hunting down some random NPC we don't know who happens to have benefited from the wealth and resources built on this like empire of pain and hurt, and those goblins we just killed because they met us on the road? Like, why do you have moral high ground here? So yeah, make characters that are problematic in fun and interesting ways to explore that, because it's the wonderful thing about this game is it's kind of a safe space to do it, especially if you've got a good table around you. They're my little points of inspiration for this week. And it's the reason I bring this person up is because like AJ has a very particular personality and outlook, and I kind of wish sometimes he was more of a jockey piece of shit. He probably is at times. But there's just something wonderfully himbo about thinking you're the center of attention. And it's, I think I missed a trick not making it part of that. I had to make them likable and lovable, obviously, and like these characters aren't. So that's the for other reasons. But yeah, that's the there's inspiration. Hopefully it inspires you if you're thinking about games. If you've come across anything in the last 2 weeks, please drop it into chat or into the comments below if you're watching this after the fact. And yeah, that's the. What do you think? I've realized I now understand how you like. The last time we did this, I was like, God, how does Declan segue out of this? And he did it very smoothly.
I'm not going to, because I'm just gonna I'm just gonna stop because I wanna talk about some of your inspiration points, Ben, because
Okay.
I love these because the way this works is that generally I don't get to see Ben's and Ben doesn't get to see mine, and just because I'm currently producing, I did have to put these in on OBS, and so I got to see them just a little bit, but I was stumped until you started talking about it. Particularly this first image, the forest. I wasn't really sure how this could help me come up with the idea of a new character. And then I just started looking at the path worn around it and the fallen tree. And I actually, in my head, I see a bunch of kids training, a bunch of kids who they come from the village. This is where they come to train because they all want to be guards. They all want to be fighters. They all want to do something. And amongst them, there is just a kid that isn't fast, isn't strong, isn't quick, isn't smart. And I'm also I think you made a point of it, and then Radius I'll know one in chat. It's like problematic characters are so much fun, and I started to think about that character that's with those kids that starts to get othered, that starts to get, you're not as fast as us, you're not as strong as us, so you can't do this. This is for us now because we can jump higher than you, we can run faster than you, we can make it up the hill faster than you, and all these things. And I started to think about that kid that came up here every day on their own and just started doing it themselves. And there's a part of me that's like, and maybe they did that because they wanted to match their peers. And then I started thinking maybe they did it because they wanted to be better than their peers, that they pushed themselves. And that is not a healthy thing. I mean, I'm all for rivalry and competition, but this is a character that takes that competition to the next level and becomes obsessed with it. And it's no longer just about, this is the thing that we did as friends. Because not only we were doing this as friends, but then you stopped being my friend, and I internalized that. So I'm now going to do this thing that we all did together, and I'm going to take the fun away from you the same way you took it away from me. So in my head, that character grows up, and the first thing they do before they leave the village is they burn this place to the ground. They just set it alight, and it is leaving it behind. In that if I can't have this, you don't get to have it either. And that leads me to your second prompt. And that also, I realize chat are now like, Declan needs to talk to somebody. He's clear.
Well, funny enough, because I have to listen to very motivational music to get me up this hill. There's no other way I can do it. But one of the tracks that comes on sometimes is like this Dragon Ball Z quote remix. And as you say that, one of the songs I listen to, it's like, it's Vegeta goes like, Kakarot's success was like a demon in my mind. And it's like that thing of just like someone else being better than you is such a motivator. Second thing that comes to mind is, hey kid, you want to know Eldritch Blast?
and that actually, thank you, because that's where I'm going with this. I physically, born the way I am with what I have, I can't do these things. I had my moment, I had my revenge, I did the thing that I needed to do. It's not my arms that will fail me, but this world takes more strength than it gave me. And suddenly I make a pact because somebody out there is willing to give me power. Somebody out there is willing to trade something that I have that they need for something that I desperately want. And I take this song, Blood Upon the Snow, and for me, it is that thing of, I need this as much as everything else. I need this so badly that I'm willing to lose a part of myself to get that strength. And this character that I'm in my mind running through, it's a warlock. Maybe a level or two or fighter thrown in there that they just never quite found, but there's a warlock there that this prompt really brings us to. And then we get to the last image. Again, I haven't seen this movie, and I completely kind of go, I don't know how I can tie this to my warlock, but we can't. But you know what we did? You know, it's really weird. As much as our eye line is drawn to the jock in the pose, it's actually the font that gets me in a big way. And there's a part of me that desperately wants to play a bimbo, like a himbo. I kind of got to play a slightly stoner Leonin himbo-esque character in Romancing the Dungeon as an NPC. Borisk, I think if Louise is in chat, she might currently be flushing with embarrassment. But there's a little himbo, but I really desperately want to play a himbo. Like I just want to, and I kind of have that with Oster in random DMs, but he's not dumb. I just want to play like a big dumb jock who's just lovely. And I with no context to this, that's where my mind went. My mind went big dumb jock who also, loves the song Baby Girl, and is just super comfortable with himself. I'm sad to hear that he's a piece of trash. But that's where your inspiration brought me, Ben. That's what
lovely.
That's what in my mind, as you were talking, as you were sharing, that's where I was going with all that inspiration. And the other thing that kind of kept me going was chat have given us an awful lot of prompts. There's quite a few prompts for our for your character.
Which brings us to building a character. Well, we go straight in, or we go to
a quick two, because we do have an intermission video, and I'm gonna just in case there's anybody out there in chat, if you are a TTRPG content creator, if you're an actual play streamer or podcast, if you make, write, draw, publish anything related to TTRPGs, if you're an artist and you take character commissions and you want a platform to share your work, contact us. Just drop us a message here on Twitch or at D8 Dungeon on social media. We have an intermission, and in the intermission we like to share some of our other friends and what they're currently working on. So we are happy to push your work and share our space with you if that's something that you think might help benefit. We're not the biggest, we're not the brightest, but hell, we've got a little room on the sofa that my cat is currently sleeping on. But there's room on it. So we take a quick 5 and we'll be back after a short intermission. Cool.
See you then.
Hi, we're Horde of Tales. We're an EU-based actual play Twitch channel. We have a long-form D&D campaign.
You may note us as one,
two,
three.
three.
The plane jumpers.
Plane diver. No.
Divers?
How did we mess this up?
And we're the new home of the EU Happy Hour.
Look, I placed them down where I thought they would be. I didn't say it was right.
We often have short-term flights that you can be a part of.
I have never heard or read a Regency-era love letter that sounded more like a booty call than that.
It's open to interpretation.
Come add to our collection at twitch.tv/Horde of Tales.
Howdy, folks. Welcome to the latest episode of Sorcery Shenanigans.
You haven't seen any cows, have you?
Once.
Going to cast I'm sorry in advance. I'm going to cast heat metal on the horse's bit.
Oh.
Believed to be Sharp. Sharp kind of pulls herself back and she's like, well, it looks like we have ourselves a game.
And welcome back.
I got caught doing this. No, I got caught doing this. It's just awkward. I got caught doing this. Thank you.
Yes.
I got caught.
Welcome back. If you were wondering, hey Ben, those inspiration points were a lot of fun. Declan built a character, but you didn't yet. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to jump right over to D&D Beyond and all build a character together. I like when making characters rolling for my stats. I find it's fun and generic, or less kind of, generic's the wrong word, unpredictable. And the very first DM I ever had, I didn't realize this wasn't like the way to do it. You'd roll 4 dice, drop the lowest, and then roll 7 times, drop the lowest. So it gave you a really nice, good opportunity to have some pretty high rolls if it fell your way. Myself and Declan were chatting about this just before the show, and it's one of those things where like I don't like set out to actively min-max a character, but I do think there's some benefit to when you know your class or you know what you're going to do, put the high rolls in the stuff that you're going to need and throw the low rolls everywhere else. And the reason I think that way is because like the DM will place challenges in front of you. My own idiotic way of playing will put challenges in front of me. If the mechanics also get in the way, my characters end up being pretty useless, and it can be kind of frustrating to not make any progress because of a roll. So I like to let my own brain get in the way as opposed to my dice rolls. So with that in mind, I have 4 d6 here, and I'm just going to roll 7 times. Let's see what we got. 5, 6, 3, which is a lovely 14. This is time for a mini section called Quick Math with Ben. 14 again. That was a 6, 4, 4. Not too bad.
Just in case anybody in chat's wondering, I am writing down all Ben's numbers, and I am fact checking his rolls. So
5, 5, 3, 13.
However,
I'm not mentioning the lowest one.
Obviously, we're not able to confirm or deny Ben's rolls. Maybe he's fudging them. I don't know. No. Maybe that's his policy on it.
Yeah. 6, 6, 6. Great. Cool. No, that was 5, 5, 4.
Dopes and Dragons in chat, Ben, has made a point of saying having super low stats is so fun to roleplay. That's very different to your take. And actually, to be fair, it's very different to my take as well. Can I ask, Dopes and Dragons, do you ever find it frustrating, just while Ben is doing math and like he's Carl Vorderming it, I promise you. But has there ever come a time with that character, and I don't know if it's something in a campaign you're running or are you talking about one-shots, because I can see the merit to it in something short and condensed, but if you were talking about a long-form campaign, would you be concerned about, oh, look, I never actually roll anything and succeed, and I feel like I'm impeding my character or impeding the party? Is that something you've ever kind of encountered, or is it this like, nah, I just do this for fun, and it's in a one-shot scenario or it's an adventure scenario? Has there been a scenario where this is a campaign for you and you were playing a wizard with -1 and everything, or a barbarian with 0 strength? What's your take on this being a long-form thing, if that's the way you play it? I'd love to know, because Ben said, we were talking about this. Ben and I were actually talking about it during the video with Omar, where we were like, oh crap, we have to stop talking about TTRPGs on the talk show. We have to talk about those when we're on camera. So I genuinely, I'm interested. I'd love to know if you're okay with sharing that. I'd love to know why you approach it that way, because I think it's really cool. I think it's really interesting because it's so different to the way that Ben and I approach it. I'd love to know your take on that.
Yeah. It is one of those things that I love the theory of it. It's straight in, someone's done and dirty. Don't listen to Dopes and Dragons. He min-maxes every character. I love the theory of playing super low stats. I just in practice have found if it's like your main one, roll purpose, you can always decide to give yourself disadvantage, or like not to roll, or like to get in your own way from one way or the other. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. It's why I like systems where it's like lasers and feelings. You're super high on one side or super low on the other. Like that's kind of nice. And having the non-charismatic character be the face is fun as well. But I don't think you lose any fun by having that person roll play bad and roll, because the dice is already random. You'll still get those nat ones. You'll still get those
So I played a character. So when the D&D 5e and I don't know if Wayne from the Irish Podcast is here, but he might be able to give his insight into this. When the 5e starter set came out, they released kind of the Dragon of Icefire Peak as a thing. Oh, he's there. Great, he's in chat. Wayne, you can, and I'd like your honest opinion, because I wonder if it was because I think back at it, I'm like, oh my god, I was that person at the table. I came up with a character. I was a cleric, but I was kind of more of a, all my stuff's to do with society and manipulation, and she was a pacifist. So I'm in the party, and I'm like, no, I don't really believe in violence. But obviously we're playing Dungeons and Dragons 5e. We're going to come up against monsters and things. And I remember she was gorgeous. She was absolutely gorgeous. And then Wayne had her turned into an orc at the very, very start. And I was like, God damn it, Wayne. She's beautiful. And now she's a sexy orc in my head. Why didn't I make her a man? But I remember kind of thinking, oh, this isn't going to be fun for the party. Because there's a member of the group now that isn't doing the things that they're supposed to do because, oh, Declan's in his own head with his character. But my way around that was, yeah, I'm a pacifist, but actually all my spells are like command and dominate person.
Yes,
It's not violence if I make you do it. And it was just a way of working it around. But only a couple of weeks ago, actually after AthVentureCon, and we're going to talk about AthVentureCon afterwards, but at AthVentureCon I was like, wonder if Wayne was mad about that. Because I remember, I think I eventually dominated the BBEG or the bad in the thing to walk into the lava. I was like, I remember, yeah, but yeah. Ben, your stats are oh wow, 3 14s and 3 13s. Oh
yeah, I'm kind of annoyed. Yeah. And all in different combinations, but because it's nice to like having a couple of low stats is kind of fun. But anyway, it helps us. It speeds us up for the purpose of like speed running character creation. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I don't need to worry too much about that, which is always good. Let me go share my screen and jump into a character builder. So I've pulled up the D&D Beyond character builder page, which we will use.
Should be on screen now.
Go. I'm gonna throw in the beginner because I don't know why we wouldn't. And start building. Now, some of the prompts we got from chat was a Goliath barbarian runs or works in a restaurant. We also had a satyr artificer. I don't know if we want to choose or mix and match. I think satyr barbarian might be fun. Crash them together. But what's all this information? I don't care. First rule of building a character: never read the fine print. Let's give them a name. And in homebrew style, what was I drinking? Turmeric tea. That's fine. That'll do. Turmeric tea. That's probably not how you spell turmeric, but fine. I hope I have the... let's make it public so that anyone watching and anyone in the Discords and stuff can access this character. Modifiers top. Yes. I don't know. Can't remember which one it is. I always like to put the big numbers in the big box, small numbers in the small box. At me.
At us both.
That's the way I do it. Yeah. Right. Do I have the materials? My spelling. Say turn around. Because you do. There is a book. There's like a book that's sort of loosely based on Greek mythology. This might decide our character for us. Don't have satyrs. Do have Goliaths. That'll do. In which case I'll do the opposite class. I'll go Goliath Artificer. That's also fun.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that'd be a good little check.
I love the idea of a big Goliath and then tinkering with like tiny little intricate machines, teensy little things.
Like big glasses. I don't know what these are. Has anyone in chat played a Goliath before? Because we got our first crossroads as a choice. Carrying capacity, cold damage, occasionally shrug off injury. I think I'm going to take this because of the exploding.
Yeah, that's.
I do get all of
it. The racial bonuses.
This is because I clicked beginner. It's trying to tell me loads of stuff. We don't need to know that. Artificer, add class.
And I think we said level. We did say level 3, didn't we? We're going to go with level 3.
Yeah, let's make level 3. That was a good place to start. We get some skills. I always think a little bit of sleight of hand. and a little bit of. There's things I always pick, perception, things that come in handy. Sleight of hand isn't often called for by DMs, but
Now,
I'm thinking because the artificery things.
Like the tiny, like they're so quick with their fingers, and like delicate kind of machines and stuff. You're getting kind of that would be interesting because like sleight of hand is one of those skills that it's like, oh, I pickpocket. You're like, no, you can. Like we've used it for passing notes. That like you know that thing of like, oh, my character needs to slip a note to somebody. I want to sleight of hand it. It's not a stealth check because you're doing something with your hands that are like, it's that sort of magician thing. They're moving, but I'm doing something else to just kind of distract you. So I always see it as like a distraction role.
See, I was thinking about it. Sometimes situational based roles don't get used half as much as they should. And I was looking into the mechanics of if someone was to do a showdown, like whether that's with guns or with swords or whatever, what series of rolls you would do. And the first one was have both characters roll a deception or insight, as in like the first to kind of, can you tell who's going to draw first? And then it was sleight of hand or either athletics or acrobatics, something like that, which is like, can we quickly do it? And then an attack roll. And based on the success,
but that would be interesting because you could have those characters. Well, I'm dexterous. I'm quick. I'm not strength. Yes. So I want to take acrobatics as my movement, whereas athletics is I'm all about that. Like hit him hard, hit him fast. So yeah, that stolen. Everybody.
Yeah, I was going to flip it because the insight deception one, I'd almost do like perception just straight up. Because someone even suggested investigation. And I'm like, you're just sort of in that situation. My assumption is you're not like actively investigating the person's hand by their gun. I think your best bet in that situation is check their shoulders. Just being generally aware of their body movements, because people will let you know where they're moving based on their shoulders. That's a little tip. If you need to know where people are going. And so I would have gone perception, then sleight of hand or something else to do that. Like maybe a sleight of hand thrown in against a deception to see if they flinch. But yeah, let's give them something fun. They are an artificer, but do we want to give them like a craft? Are they retired? Are they a painter now working or wood carver?
I like that. They may be kind of retired and they're turning their skill set into, actually, you know what? I now whittle.
Yeah, I like that because it's like I still want to make delicate little things. I just don't want to put
magic into it. Yeah,
magic in them.
Other than the magic of hobbies.
Yes, I don't know enough about artificers to choose these choices.
You came to the right gnome artificer lady.
Are there like go-tos?
I haven't a notion. Oh,
sometimes...
Ben, no, I have never a notion of like, oh, what's the go-to for this? No, personally speaking, and like as we're building turmeric, I'm already so we've kind of, there's a couple of things that you've said now that I'm like, in their backstory, retired. And there were some really interesting notes or other prompts, including Anya with the Ox Pisces. So I'm in the background. We were talking again during the interview with Omar. You and I were talking, and I had said that my process to building a character is very similar to Omar's, in that I don't actually start with, I want to play a sorcerer, or I want to play a rogue. I start with, I want to play this personality. I want to play this type of person and build from there. And then I find the class that fits that. And I've, when I was building Marilla Whistlecoil for Romancing the Dungeon, obviously, if you've listened to the show, if you've listened to the podcast, Marilla is an artificer. She's a gnome, and she's a big old. She's retired. She now runs a bar, but it's that thing of, in her spare time, she still tinkers with tech. She still tinkers with magic. She still tinkers with things that kind of really kind of excite her. But her bar is her passion now. But for me, it was that thing of, and I love artificers. For someone who's not into kind of sci-fi based TTRPGs, normally, I love that artificers are a really fun way of taking the concept of the arcane and giving it that sort of arcano-tech vibe. So,
Yes.
I'd like when it comes to what they can do, like, and their abilities. I always love that thing of like armor, like infused armor, or like that they've taken a little bit of the magic that they have warped and they've put it into something like a weapon. So it's a fun way of doing that, I think, with that particular class. Though I've never, other than an NPC, I've never actually played them as an actual character myself as a player.
It reminded me to get on because we had Rander, who was an artificer on Homebrew, played by Paul Connolly. And speaking of something I forgot to mention earlier, which is when you come up with characters, there's like, I think it's fine to go into it in really simple ways. Like, I saw this show, I like the main character, I want to play that version of this in this fantasy land. Perfectly fine reason to do it. Just replicate who you need to do. It's prompts like that help me bring AJ, who you had made, into the game by just being like, he's a little bit Ted Lasso, he's a little bit Picard. And then just knowing those two characters, I'm like, okay.
And he's a little bit sad.
Off we go. And he's a little bit Lexus. But Paul, I've played with Rander multiple times in multiple games because Paul always plays Rander. A different version of Rander, a different realm space and kind of iteration of Rander, but there's always a Rander. And I think that's a perfectly fine way to do it. You don't have to constantly bring new characters to the table. If you have a character you like from a different campaign, bring them in, change their class. You know, make the game as easy to have as much fun as possible as you want. So I made some choices, and I made them for character reasons. I picked Enhanced Arcane Focus because I'm thinking this person's retired, and over the course of their adventuring career, they would have picked up something that makes their arcane focus a little bit better. So just a nice little, like, keep safe. I picked Mind Sharpener because I'm assuming they're going to fail a lot of Constitution saving throws because their stuff explodes a lot. And being able to, like, maintain concentration in the chaos, it's pretty good. I picked Replicate Magic Item, which is really cool. I hadn't seen that before, which is basically just get to replicate a magic item. There's so didn't look fun, so I went for Pipe of Smoke Monsters. I'm assuming you smoke it and a monster comes out, and potentially an illusionary one. So my thinking is if they are in a cabin in the woods, they use this pipe to kind of ward off busybodies and gossips and town people, to be like, oh, there's monsters in that wood, but it's just this old Goliath artificer. And then Homunculus Servant, they're getting old. They need someone to pass that wrench. Simple as that.
See, these are all really fun things that when you take the mechanics into account, you can kind of go, okay, what is, or rather, who is turmeric? Outside of, like, they're an artificer and they're a Goliath, what is that? So that idea of, well, they have a homunculus servant. So, okay, we know they're retired. That would make sense. So maybe even as a Goliath with that strength, that height, that build, that everything, that they are just a little too old now. And that when it comes to those stats, maybe strength takes one of those 13s because just not able for it. So that servant is the thing that lugs the heavy things, those heavy logs, those heavy tools to the table. I loved the Mind Sharpener thing because I actually took that in a slightly different direction. Twiggy B has said they have a bend in the back now. Yeah, that they're a little arched over from all those years that they had the workshop table. A little sort of crooked, a little sort of gnarled. I love that. That's such a nice idea. I love the idea of a Goliath leaning over a table with tiny artificer tools and multi-lens glasses. That's class because it's that thing of like, this is a thing that Goliaths don't do. You know, that like, oh no, you go out and you hit stuff. Your big things hit other things. But I want to do this. I want to take something small and I want to be precious with it and I want to make something with it. Such a really cool way of taking these prompts and building this character. So imagine turmeric as someone who's been told, no, that's not what we do. That's not what our clan does. That's not what our community does. We are fighters. We're, mercenaries. Fine, you can be a blacksmith, but put down those dainty little things. Those are for gnomes. Those are for dwarves. Those are for elves. Those are for tiny people.
Turmeric definitely plays D&D, and it's one of those things where, as you're building a character, you start to build the characters they interact with, which I think is important. I think it's good to go to a DM and say, here's who I am, but here's the people in my life. And so you have that, whether it's like a brother or a family member, or even just people in the town. It's like, Turmeric, what are you doing in there? It's like, nothing. It's like, you playing with your toys again? It's like, no. Like, playing heroes.
Wayne has just said, think Michael Clark Duncan from The Green Mile. Yeah, like, again, not always having to lead into the gentle giant trope, because obviously, come here, they've plenty of power to back up. It's just they've channeled that power, they focus that power into other things.
Yes.
What do you do? What do you do, Ben? Then, when it comes to those stats, where are you thinking of putting those? Because I know the artificers can pick spells and stuff, but that's often something I would do. And I like, as a player, I often consult the party with, look, I'm playing an artificer. This is what their general thing is, and I'm more of a support role. Are there particular things that you'd like to see in their repertoire? So if we leave spells to another time, maybe, but
yes.
What about those stats? Where are you thinking of putting those? I also feel like I just did that like a weather person. What about those storm clouds coming in over?
Got those stats coming in from the weeks.
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that I rolled so like averagely high, because it is nice to have one or two. Like, standard array would be helpful here to kind of give that spread, but I'm allowing it in my head canon. It's so funny that I've convinced myself, even though I did it, to be like, no, this is why this helped. I put the 14s in Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom, and my thinking is when they were fully fledged, like out there adventuring, they were higher. But over time, they've just been ding, 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 ding. Strength, dexterity, charisma, potentially lower, but have been kind of raised up. So they've sort of just middled out.
Okay.
Is my post-rationalization for a sort of fairly even spread. I can see that even with a 13 roll, Goliaths obviously get a Constitution. So there's still the, like, it's a nice way not to play that gentle giant or like that pacifist who's like, I don't want to hurt anyone. It's like, no, I'm a big beefy guy. I love playing. It's like, I think I'm an NFL player that loves playing D&D. That's in my head. I'm like, no, there's statistics, there's games. It's important. These are actually like, if you're going to cut down a tree, work hard, not, work smarter, not harder. And he's seeing, this clan who are just constantly like working harder and not smarter.
Yeah.
That's what's come to mind, which is not a bad little space to be in. I think we've done some.
Twiggy B has said strength and dex for older, and charisma lives alone. Constitution drinks by themselves.
Yes.
And then both Death Metal Milkman and Dopes and Dragons have said Joe Manganiello.
Yes.
Yeah, in the future. That's what we've just built him a character. Him as a character in the future.
If he ever wants to stop playing Archon the Cruel,
yeah. And if you ever
Joe Manganiello can play Turmeric too.
Over here with us, Ben and I will happily run that session.
Yeah. In terms of background, I mean, we sort of have like hermits right there.
Yes, but do you think they're always a hermit?
I don't think they are. I think they want to be, but God damn it, the game keeps pulling them back in, doesn't it?
I'm going to throw something out there from a background character story. I like the idea of they were intrinsic to a party having done a great deed, thwarted an evil, saved a kingdom. So I see them as a folk hero, and now they live in the woods quietly by themselves, doing the thing that they wanted to do, which was make things and enjoy the making of the thing. But it is that thing of there's something more about you. There's something else there. And I think that's sort of with the skill proficiencies, animal handling, maybe there's a gorgeous golden retriever that lives with them in that little hut.
Goodness. And it's definitely not a golden retriever, but a giant golden bear.
Yes. Yeah. But it's a golden
golden retrievers of Goliaths.
Yeah, it's a golden retriever owl bear.
Yeah.
Called Sandy.
Oh my goodness. I picked brewer supplies because of Twiggy B's comment about drinks by themselves.
Yes.
So they obviously make their own hooch.
Doggo bear. Okay, owlbear dogs. I'm
Yeah.
bringing them into the world of romancing the dungeon. Owlbear.
Nice.
Owlbear doggos. Got it. Okay. That's a thing that's happening now. Thank you. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Klaus? The idea of an old tinker in the forest that everyone is scared of, but they are an artisan. Yeah, that's such a wonderful sort of archetype, and I think we've kind of got that here with turmeric. I also love if we could throw that do they woof. That's Death Metal Milkman. I don't know if you were the DM or the player, but that's an inspiration point right there. That's an inspiration point from
you managed to get
On A Roll.
A deep dirty laugh from me.
Yeah,
I hooed.
So you take that there, and you bring that to your next game, and you can show your DM if you're the DM or your players, because DMs should get inspiration. You can show that to your DM or your players and say, look, well, no, Ben and Declan said that I got inspiration, so
good in any game.
That's for you. Take that on board. I love the idea that maybe their name isn't turmeric, but that's the name they go by now because they don't use the old name, and they're turmeric because their hands are stained yellow from their tools, from the oils, from the things that they use, and it's where's that from? And points to the fermenting turmeric that they use in their kombucha and their alcohol.
To take a low prompt from your character earlier about these kids that go up the mountain every day and train, it's like turmeric isn't their name, but it's the name that the locals, and especially the local kids, have just nicknames like, "Oh, just go. There's turmeric." That's them. It's the guy with the yellow hands. Because when you have that sort of recluse character, like the community do end up giving you nicknames. We had a guy in my local town called Teabag. Don't know why. That was his name. And it was just before that was a thing, so it wasn't that.
That was always.
This is pre-video games. I'm pooning people.
Yes, but that existed before video games.
No. No. Gamers invented it. Just for this purpose of for brevity,
getting out of that.
Gold. Yeah, gold, and then character sheet. Here he is.
We have
Done.
our turmeric
We did
tea.
it. Thanks very much, everyone. Available to play, and add some stuff with. Yeah, we'll leave spells. Spells is obviously a big thing.
So,
but like,
go. You take it.
I was just going to say that the purpose of that exercise was simply to say, like, sometimes you can randomly, and I stopped sharing screen there, randomly take some prompts, mix them all together, and you'll end up in really interesting places, and unique but grounded places.
And the other thing there is that it's not just a it's not just one thing that you can kind of, that's a character there that everybody here watching and everybody here, like myself and Ben, would have a very different take on playing that personality. And who they might be, what they might actually do. And I would say that, like, when it comes to that kind of thing, I'd be looking at it as let's see where that can kind of go, and what that might come in. Because again, this is a level 3 character. How many years has it been since they retired? And why are they now coming out of retirement? What is it that's brought them back to this? So yeah, don't discount that. Ben, we've done that thing again where we've gone over our time, and I don't think I mean, I'm good to keep talking, and I really want to talk about AthVentureCon. Are you good? Can we?
I'm keep to yeah, exactly. I was just going to say before we move to the AthVentureCon thing, that's how you can build a player character. Also, you can build an NPC. Yep. So. Same process.
Yep. And
same.
That's the thing. I don't know if there are other DMs here that are, watching, or maybe you're watching afterwards. That is a really, because often there's a thing of like, but how do I make an NPC? The exact same way the players make their characters, and you use D&D Beyond, and you just pop them in, and you do it that way, and that works. That is just that's how I do it sometimes, because it's like, how do I track all the spells? How do I track all the reactions? How do I track all the actions? Those sheets are there, and that's just D&D. Like, there's loads of little shortcuts that you can take when it comes to, but when it comes to building that NPC that's going to be in the combat, build them the same way the player characters do.
Yeah. Obviously, you can just go to a character generator and click generate too. I just like, because you have to roleplay them, I just like to have that little bit of extra background information to bring it in. And if you don't have spells chosen if you didn't get the time to prep that, just decide what they cast when they need to cast it in the session and retcon it in your notes later. Simple as. Yep. We're all a bunch of liars.
That's why we DM.
Yes. Yeah, do we want to... I popped around AthVentureCon, captured some stuff, and sat down with Wayne from Sorcery Shenanigans to chat about new beginnings, first players, first systems, and then to close out the show. Obviously, if there's anything you want us to cover in the future, please do let us know. But to close out the show, we might just have a quick chat about like new systems or new mechanics or any of those kind of things.
Yep. Okay.
Me sprinting really fast down the road to make sure I'm not late. But if you think I move fast, look how fast these people are going. Actually, stop the tape. Isn't that Dylan from Hearthfire Tales? It is Dylan. That's him seeing me. And then he's thinking, I'm a busy man. Will I talk to Ben? I will talk to Ben. That's Dylan clocking a camera. He's a consummate professional. And then we have a nice casual chat behind the camera. Dylan, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to sit down for an official On A Roll chat, but I'll catch you next time. Over the course of the weekend, there was something like 37 different GMs, including myself and Declan, running games, and 33 different game systems. And in fact, as I'm recording this, just in the back of the room, I'm about to sit down with the rookie DM to play a game of Tea Time Adventures. Although I had the best intentions to sit down with as many people as possible to get their opinion of the con, I had too much fun and didn't get around to it, so you're just going to have to take my word. One person I did manage to grab, though, was Wayne from Sorcery Shenanigans. Here's how that conversation went. Good morning. I'm here with Wayne from Sorcery and Shenanigans, and we're talking about new beginnings, specifically new beginnings for characters. Now, Wayne, what was the very first character you ever played in any tabletop role-playing system?
So it was a very long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, because it was a Star Wars roleplay game that I played when I was 17, which was a long time ago, a galaxy far, far away. And it was a mercenary. I'm trying to remember it was a mercenary dude who wanted to be a Jedi but wasn't, and was pissed that he couldn't be.
Yes, yeah.
And he wanted it so badly that he ended up being a Jedi hunter. That he kind of turned that anger inwards.
Yes, yeah. If I can't be with you, no one can.
Nobody can. Yeah, that type of situation.
Oh, I love that.
Real toxic piece of shit.
Our first characters often are. So that also explains the first system you ever played. What was do you remember the exact name? Was it called?
It was just the Star Wars roleplay game at the time. I can't even remember the version of it because there was a couple of different editions, like any game. But it was so long ago. Again, I've deleted the files. I'm too old at this age to remember the shit. But it was a good while ago. So if you think back to I would have been 17. So it would have been around 1996, 97.
Star Wars hadn't even come out then.
Yeah.
The good ones anyway.
The good ones, yeah. No, it was actually just on the... So the expanded universe of Star Wars was a big thing back then for any of the big Star Wars nerds. And that's how my buddy Matt Hollingsworth, convinced me to give TTRPGs a go. Because it was like, look, I've got a Star Wars one. You're a massive Star Wars nerd. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And we had a blast. A massive blast.
That's a great segue into, if you're looking to get into TTRPGs but you don't know where to start, often your favorite fandom will have an RPG supplement alongside it. So if you like Supernatural, there's a Supernatural one. If you like Ghostbusters, there's a Ghostbusters one. If you like anything, there's an RPG. And if there isn't, make one.
Yes.
Which, speaking of what comes next, Wayne, do you have any characters in the sidelines, like new characters that you're hoping to play, or like that you're itching? You're like, I've had this idea, and I'm just waiting for someone to invite me to game to do it.
Yes, I've got a ton of characters. As a forever DM, I'm forever creating characters. A lot of my kind of games that I play, I do have characters ready by the sidelines that I would use as NPCs that I want to roll and want to play. I have a halfling paladin that I want to roll, but he is an Oathbreaker paladin. But he's an Oathbreaker because he was indoctrinated as a child.
Oh.
So he broke his oath against the god he was indoctrinated against because they were evil, and that's how he broke his oath. So he's not an evil...
Right.
He's actually rebelling against an evil god. So it's kind of a twisted... To take on the fact that Oathbreakers are always these kind of against their god who is technically good, Whereas this is an outbreak who's technically good, and he turns out that the gods are evil.
Yes, yeah. Which, given where we're from and how we were raised, we've all broken enough.
Exactly.
We're here at AthVentureCon. Wayne, you were running some games. What were you running today?
I was running Dragonbane, the free league, new free league game. I think it came out last year, and it's great. It's a kind of, I think, was it Mirth and Mayhem role playing is what they call it.
Right, Mirth and Mayhem. I've never come across. I love that.
Yeah,
I'm going to look for that specifically because that's my style of playing. How are you finding the con so far?
So the convention is fantastic. I have to say, the vibe at this place is brilliant. It's just all about having the fun, and the people that are organising, the group that are organising it, have put their heart and soul into it, and everyone attending is having a blast. This is the type of conventions that we need more of in Ireland, and I think we've seen shows like this before that have since died off, but I think this is carrying the torch for me. This is my first year at it. I tend to be back next year.
Yes.
I'm only doing one day and one game this year because of scheduling and stuff. But next year, I'm going to put a block of time in my calendar to be able to come and do at least 2 games, maybe more.
If you were to give the con a 1-word review,
welcoming.
Lovely. Well, back to you in the studio.
And we're back. And that was a wonderful, wonderful snapshot of just how amazing AthVentureCon was. Because that's what I'm going to say. Like, in case you were going, oh, I'm going to get all the tea from Ben and Jack. The tea is, we had such a phenomenal experience at AthVentureCon. Their second year in, like, that was... I remember, I think I was talking to Jonathan, one of the organizers at the event, saying that we were there in their first year, and we were really wondering, like, how do you build on such a good year? How do you make something new? Like, how do you get to that next point? And they did. Like, they really, really did. Like, there were so many games, so many different systems, so many different DMs and players, and that's just the game room. Then there's the merchant hall, where I think we all spent a little too much money.
Which is incredible. Just enough money. We could have spent more money. It's incredible merchants. They were so good. I came back with so much stuff.
Yeah. I had to fight. I was like, okay, Declan, you said you wouldn't spend any money at the convention other than, the essentials. And then I was like, okay, I'll just get that art print, and I'll just get that ceramic kitty, and I'll just get that leather thing. Essential. And that's enough. I mean, there's so many amazing people behind the scenes at AthVentureCon, and so many people that volunteer then at the weekend itself, including the youth members of the Athenry Adventurers Club that were running games and kind of mentoring the next generation of tabletop role-playing game folks.
Jumping into panels as well. We had Sonia on our panel for TTRPG Tribunal. Absolutely smashed it out of the park. So the fact that we were able to interweave, like, the organizers make you feel so welcoming and genuinely get you involved, and it's just very clear the ethos they have, which is just good fun for a good cause, for overall having beautiful growth of community in there.
Wayne made that point earlier on that Ireland needs more of these kinds of events, and the community-based events are I've always been way more drawn to those. As someone who used to organize one, that's the reason I organized it, because you do have such a blast when it is everybody who's a nerd about the one thing getting together and to nerd out about it. And there is, like, I mean, it was my second year at AthVentureCon, and like that immediately, and I don't want to name check people. I don't and then this person, but like Anya, Drew, and Carrie in particular, all made a point of being like, "Oh my God, you're welcome back." Just it was so nice that like that you remember from the first year, and like I remember talking to Anya the morning of my panel on Saturday morning, and I mean like, okay, I was like, it's 10:30, it's fine. Like, I don't mind being on. I don't mind being one of the first ones. If there's like 5 or 6 people, I'll be happy, because then I can sit and work with 5 or 6 people for 2 hours on storytelling and the narrative design workshop. And I went in and we were like, oh, and then Anya's like, yeah, no, a lot of people are going to be at this. And I was like, really? Like, are you sure? Like, it's fine, you can close the door. But you are just immediately welcomed into that space. And that's as people as the DMs. And talking to the players at the table, everybody is like, we need to do more of these. There needs to be more of these get-togethers and more of these things. And the fact that it's then raising money for a youth club that's sort of raising more awareness and bringing more people into these spaces is just, it makes loads of sense.
One of the notes, that's sort of organized corporate way to say it. One of the conversations I was having with someone was that, like, outside of the fun I had and getting to meet everyone, I just thought it was so impressive that you have all these people organizing it, and you have this youth club attached, and for all those players, for all those kind of the range of kids involved in the club, they're seeing what a good con looks like. So if they dig their heels deep into this hobby, which we know people do, and they travel the world and go to different conventions, they know what good looks like now. Yep. And that is an incredible thing to bring in, because for a lot of people, I think a lot of their first cons are like college maybe, or even their adult years, and they just don't know what to expect or what to do. And they're like, is this how you behave? Is this how you behave? But like, these kids are getting an incredible example of, look at this community working together. Look at the work we put in. Appreciate the work. They were incredibly appreciative of the work that went in, as everyone should be. And like, that is a life lesson that will stick with them regardless of where they go next, and can't be overlooked, I don't think.
The other thing to note, and you kind of hit the nail on the head, Ben. The other thing outside of that sort of, even from the kind of the personal attachment and the growth that from it also, because again, if you're thinking of like, oh, I don't know, I don't play D&D, you don't have to play D&D. Like, there are so many different systems on offer at this, and there's so many different DMs with so many different ways, even if it is just D&D, that I guarantee you the way Ben runs a D&D game will be different to the way Dave or Ryan or Dylan or the rookie DM or members of AthVenturecon. They're all going to DM it very differently. And even if it was, and it's not, even if it was just D&D, you're going to get such an amazing variety. But it's not, because there was Pathfinder, there was Call of Cthulhu, there was Vampire the Masquerade. Ben, you ran Wanderhome. I did.
Yeah, and even within that genre, like Wanderhome's Cozy Cottage, there was also Tea Time Adventures. So within genres, there was like Transformers, Alien, Wayne ran Dragonbane. Like you did,
and I also
Lasers and Felines, but then also,
and then just JW Zippy has said 36 different game systems. # just saying. # thank you. 36 different game systems across 2 days. Like that's immense. And that's players traveling from all over Ireland to play, and actually not just Ireland, because AthVentureCon have gone international, and I was very, very lucky on the Sunday to have an amazing duo from the States join my table, and having had no experience in tabletop role playing games, join the table. And like that, it was like, oh, we don't really know, we don't really play, but our family are into it, and we're kind of maybe figuring it out. And then they were like, oh, well, you need to check out, Declan for Lasers and Felines, because and again, they know the DMs. There's a real sense of they know kind of what might fit, because they know our style, and because they get to know you. And like, personally speaking, like, I mean, I came home, and my husband is not into tabletop role playing games at all. I think I mentioned that the last time. Not into it at all as a hobby. But they gave me a mug as part of a because I DM'd 3 games and I ran 2 panels. And what's that? Declan might do more next year if he's asked back. I don't know. Can we cram more into the schedule? Can Declan make life more complicated for Anya and the panel workshop schedule? Let's find out next year. But the cups are just amazing. And like they didn't have to do that because I had such a blast already. But you like those little things of like, hey, look, we see you, we know what you're doing. That is just that appreciation you feel immediately. Then there's the added bonus of getting to sit in the pub afterwards, sit down and talk to other members of the Irish TTRPG community. And like, oh, you're doing that? Well, we're doing this. Can we do something together? Can we talk about maybe? Nah. Hats off to every member of AthVenturecon, from the volunteer at the weekend, either for the whole weekends or just the one day, right up to the people who give their time to this. You should be immensely proud of the effort and the energy that goes into your event, because that was just superb. Like, so unfortunately you've moved the bar again. So if you're like, we're back next year, bigger than better, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do that? Like, we're actually going to open a portal to the Fey realm, and that's where we're going to be playing.
Next year's AthVenturecon in the yawning portal. How do they do it? But I wouldn't be surprised.
So
wouldn't put it past them.
And again, if I think there's a few people from AthVenturecon still lurking around. You like, I don't want to say you can speak for Ben and I, but you can speak. You can. Okay, you can. I'll speak for Ben and I. Can we please come back next year? And maybe we could do a Ben and Declan on a roll live. Who knows?
Oh yeah, we could do that.
But I don't know.
We'd have to commit to the morning bit.
Well, what we do is we come out in pajamas, pulled. Like, there we go. So no. To surmise, like Wayne did welcoming, I'm just going to say top class. That's my one word, top class. Just for every aspect. The people who organize the event itself, the merchants, the volunteers, just top class.
I'm going to say transformative. Because I cried.
Because that was my word for the day.
We were... we were in the corner. It was Sunday morning, and instead of sitting at a table, we went to the couches, and me and I won't speak for anyone else, but I had a nice, wholesome little cry. It was just really nice, and that's sums it up. To end on a little bit of advice, so, I'd recommend going to cons, checking out different systems, even if you exclusively play one system with your home game or you've got a long campaign running. What you'll find is you just pick up little tips and tricks from other systems that you can just bring into your other game, and it's a great way to sort of add another element to your player or DM string, bow, toolkit, whatever that phrase is.
And I'll second Ben on that, because every time I run a different system, then I take something from it. Like, it's that, like, oh, that's actually a cool little... It doesn't have to be a mechanic. That's just a cool way of telling a story beat. That's just a cool way of inserting an NPC or a little thing. That is honestly like, and it can be a bit daunting. Let's be honest. It can be. Oh God, there's a new system. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to get it right. So what? I don't think I've ever gotten D&D right. I don't think I've ever gotten GURPS right or Vampire the Masquerade right. But have my players, have I enjoyed it? Yep. Great. Job done. That's all you have to worry about. Did everybody have fun? Did everybody participate? Did everybody enjoy themselves? And then from there, knock it out of the park, however that works. We're almost good to wrap here, I think. But I do want to very quickly mention that towards the end of March, the Irish Cancer Society are, if anybody outside of Ireland isn't aware, organised Daffodil Day, an annual collection to raise money to fight cancer. During lockdown, their intake was obviously very affected by, people not being able to leave their homes and stuff like that. So they organized Heroes from Home, where they brought on members of the streaming community in Ireland to help raise funds. They've been in touch, and we are going to be involved again this year with D8 Dungeon. So the next week that Ben and I are back, we for those 4 days, so from the 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st, every stream we have, and we'll be doing 4 days back to back of streaming, 3 of which will be games, 2 of which will be non-D&D systems, and then Ben and Declan on a roll. We will be looking to raise funds for the Irish Cancer Society and the Heroes from Home campaign. I haven't decided on my system just yet, but last year I was very, very fortunate to run Dungeon Mart, which was basically basically just, it was people working in a shop in a in basically a big supermarket, but found in a dungeon, and you played the characters that worked in that shop on the night shift, dealing with all sort of manner of problems that you would expect in a normal giant retailer, but placed into a dungeon. And that was just, and in 3 hours we raised €1,000 for the Irish Cancer Society. So we're gonna run for 4 nights. I'm not gonna say we're going to run and we're gonna smash that goal. It doesn't matter if we raise €50, we raise €1,000. All of it's going to help a charity. So on the Monday we'll be running Beyond Horizon's Edge, and the game you will be able to manipulate. You'll be able to tweak the rules, and you'll be able to push my limits as a DM through donations. Maybe push the limits of the players. Who knows? And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be running different systems. And I haven't quite set my mind to what I want to run, because I will DM one of the nights. If you are interested in participating, and you'll see a link to our Discord server there, and you'd like to get involved in our games, maybe you've got a bit of time on the Tuesday or Wednesday, you want to be involved, head over to our Discord server. You never know, we could be looking for people to pop in and join us as players. Next time, Ben.
Oh yeah, we have another show coming up. We do this every 2 weeks.
Oh, there's no holidays.
And if you think this isn't a game, it is, and we are tracking XP. We're hoping for level up next time, but who knows?
I don't give levels, Ben. You know that I don't give.
Who said you were the game?
Look.
Fair. Yeah. No. Came out of my mouth and I realized
who's DMing who right now.
Yeah, it's true.
But next time we are going to be talking about mythology, particularly focusing on how myth and legend can be used to inspire, and where we might draw influence from stories of old. So with that, good evening.
Good evening.
Have a good one. I think, is there, Ben, you're really good at this, because I have to do the producing side of it. You do the ad-lib part now. And now over to the so you do the weather. So do our weather part, and I will find someone that we can raid.
Yes.
So don't go anywhere. Don't go,
of course.
We want to raid somebody. We want to keep the numbers going.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Please do stick around, because we're going to raid. But for now, over to sports. So we have seen that the Goliath Giants took a hammering against the Gnome Giants this weekend in, let's make up a fancy name, Orb Ball. No, that's not good. Spark Plug. No, that's not good. Let's call it Fricket. Yeah, that's close enough. So in this weekend's Fricket, the Goliath Giants took a hammering against the Gnome Giants in what is definitely the game to kick off the season. We're hoping next week when they play again, people will be just as interested and care just as much. They're playing for different types of cups, different kind of leagues. They're going to play all the time. But it matters to people. So sorry to people who like sports.
For fear anybody is about to learn anything for sports there. We found someone to raid. We're going to raid ampersand D20. Stick around for these fancy new credits. Let's see. Let's honor the people involved in the production of this show, and we are going to raid ampersand.
Because a lot of work goes into this.